Hey, good afternoon, students. We are going to just do a note-taking / revision for tropical rainforest. So just on a piece of blank paper, okay, you're gonna write tropical rainforest. Okay, so tropical rainforest. In this first part, we will just be looking at the location as well as the characteristics. Okay, so let's start with our location. Now, the tropical rainforest can be found in firstly hot and wet environments. Okay, so definitely the weather, oops, there's no ink, hold on. Okay, so the weather conditions are hot and wet. Okay, when I mean hot, it is high temperatures, and wet, I mean also high rainfall. Okay, so how high is high temperatures? Usually above 27 degrees Celsius, and high rainfall is between 1,500 to 2,500 mm. Okay, this is the weather conditions. Okay, and both of these coincides under the equatorial climate. Which can be found 10 degrees north and south of the equator. So that is in terms of the climate and the weather. Okay, now next one, we are looking at the three major areas. So we know we have Amazon, which is in South America, and then we have Congo, which is in Africa, and lastly we have Southeast Asian countries. Which is obviously in Southeast Asia. Okay, so these are the major distributions, and we are done with location. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the characteristics of tropical rainforest. Okay, so just gonna branch out here. Characteristics. Now, there are, I think, 4 characteristics, 3 or 4 characteristics of rainforest. So we start with our first one, which is our tropical rainforest is actually very thick and luxuriant. Okay, so one of it is it being thick and luxuriant. Okay, and this is due to the dense plant growth. That is why it is thick and luxuriant. Because of high temperatures and high rainfall, it allows for the plants to grow. Okay, moving on, there's another point, which is the trees are evergreen. And trees are evergreen because they are is a continuous growth of new leaves. Okay, and they do not shed leaves at the same time, meaning to say your trees have different months in which they shed their leaves. Okay, and the next one is that your tropical rainforest has a rich biodiversity. Okay, when I talk about rich biodiversity, I'm talking that they have a great variety of plants and animal species. Okay, and I guess that is all for characteristics too. Now, obviously, for rich biodiversity, you can also talk about the different foods that can be found. Okay, like your nuts and your spices and your fruits. Okay, we are now done with the characteristics. So I'm going to move on to the structure of the rainforest, which I'm going to name as layers of rainforest. Okay, so I'll probably put it somewhere here. Okay, layers. Okay, so there are three main layers of the tropical rainforest, and in order for us to understand what these three layers are, I'm going to draw out the rainforest. So if you have a pencil, it will be good, okay, to also just do a quick drawing of your rainforest. So what I like to get students to do when it comes to this part is, for your highest layer, you just draw one tree, because your emergent layer usually consists of your couple tree, and usually there will just be one or two. Even two is fine too. Okay, now just slightly below it, you can draw many trees. What do I mean many trees? Okay, it could be like this. Okay, so this is your canopy layer, and yeah, you can just draw 4 trees. I think that's good enough. And lastly, the next level that we can draw is our undergrowth layer. Okay, so for your undergrowth layer, you can draw maybe a few tiny trees and many shrubs below. Okay, so that will be your undergrowth layer. Okay, and clearly you can see your 3 layers of the rainforest very clear. Yeah. Okay, so this is the top layer, and then we have our canopy layer, and then we have our undergrowth area. Okay, so now I'm just gonna name them. The highest layer of the rainforest is known as our emergent layer. Okay, and this layer is usually 50 meters. Okay, so the second layer that we have is the canopy layer, and this is usually 30 meters. Then obviously we have our undergrowth. Oops, spelling. Undergrowth layer, which is 20 meters and below. Okay, so these are the 3 layers of the rainforest. Now, so for emergent layer, some of the special things about it is that the trees actually tower above other trees. So trees in the emergent layer tower above other trees below, like in the canopy layer. Okay, so it towers above the canopy trees. Whoops. Now, and another special thing about the emergent layer is that trees can grow up to 50 to 80 meters. Okay, so the trees are super tall in the emergent layer, and they usually have tall, straight, and smooth trunks. So as you can see, this is the tall, straight, and smooth trunk. Yeah. So these are the 3 things that is special about our emergent layer. So we're going to move on to the canopy layer. Okay, so what are some special things about our canopy layer? So there are smaller trees which grow between the heights of 20 to 30 meters. Okay, and then the narrow crown interlocks to form a continuous canopy which blocks out %90 of sun's rays. Okay, and lastly, liana and epiphytes also grow in this layer. Okay, so in my picture, I can now add in my lianas, which is my vines. Okay, there can be many vines. And then if I were to draw my epiphyte, maybe I take another color. Okay, the most common thing you can draw is just like a fern. Okay, so that is your lianas and your epiphytes. Okay, now the last layer that we have is our undergrowth layer. So for the undergrowth layer, what's special about it is that the undergrowth layer, this layer is dark. Okay, as sunlight is blocked by canopy layer. And the plants are small and sparse. Small and sparse. Okay. And lastly, because of the high temperatures, okay, sorry, I realize you can't see it. Okay, plants are small and sparse. Because of the very high temperatures, there is rapid decomposition. Which leaves a thin layer of leaf litter. Okay, and that will be your layers of the rainforest. Now we're gonna continue with the adaptations. That happens in the rainforest to the plants, and we're gonna use this drawing that we did just now, not drawing, a sketch of the rainforest that we did just now, and we're gonna add in a few details. Okay, so for our emergent layer, what is found there is that we have branches that are wide spreading. Okay, so you can draw branches like this. Okay, so I will name this as widespread branches, or you can say that the branches spread out at the top. Okay, and what these widespread branches do is that it helps to obtain maximum sunlight. Okay, so because these trees are very tall, we said just now that their trunks or the bark is actually very smooth, so I can't really draw smooth for you, but if it's rough there will be a lot of textures. So they actually have smooth barks, and these smooth barks will allow rainwater to flow easily. Because these trees are super tall, up to 80 meters tall, and they want to let the excess water go down. Now, the next adaptation that you can find is that for the leaves at the top, okay, maybe what you can do is you can draw our favorite drip tip leaf. Okay, so it's just a heart shape with a water droplet, and that's our drip tip leaves. Okay, so because of the drip tips, okay, I'm just gonna write this first: drip tip leaves. What it does is that it allows water to run off easily, which then prevents fungi and bacterial growth. Okay, And because these trees are in a place where they are always exposed to the sunlight, okay, they sometimes have leaves. Another type of leaf that you can draw. Okay, I'm just gonna draw a normal leaf shape whereby it is hairy. It is not so kiwi-like, but technically the leaves have tiny hairs that actually minimize the loss of water. Okay, so sometimes the trees also have waxy, leathery, or hairy surfaces. Okay, so you can write waxy, leathery, or hairy leaves, and what these do is to minimize loss of water through transpiration. Now, some of the trees at the canopy layer or below the canopy layer, because they are being blocked out by the canopy layer, what happens to them is that they actually have leaves that are broad. Okay, so if you compare it to the rest, these are the trees with broad leaves, and they have broad leaves because they want to capture sunlight for photosynthesis. Okay, and we are done for the leaves. Now we're gonna move on to the fruits and the flowers. Okay, so in class, I remember I drew, okay, something like that, and then you draw. So the fruits and the flowers are usually colorful and strong smelling. Okay, it's not nice smelling, it's strong smelling, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't smell good. Okay, and what this does is that it actually attracts insects for dispersal or pollination. Okay, so when the insects come and pollinate the flowers, then there will be more of that plants growing in the rainforest. Okay, so that is for the fruits and the flowers. Now we're going to go to this special part. I think we have gone through this many times in class too, but we have this thing called buttress roots. Okay, and I'm just gonna draw, I'll just make the roots for our tall trees more prominent here. Okay, so buttress roots, these are the roots that you can see on the surface. Okay, so we have our buttress roots, and what they do is that they support the heavy weight of trees. And then let's try this part. So say this is the ground level. Okay, so and sometimes what happens is that the trees also have shallow roots. So this is underground. You can't see it in pictures. And what these shallow roots does is that it absorbs nutrients. Oops, excuse me. Found in topsoil. Okay, and ta-da! We have all our adaptations. So to help you all out, because there's so many adaptations here, right? I'm gonna underline the important ones. So we have our, okay, I'll box it up. Drip tip leaves, smooth barks, waxy, leathery or hairy leaves, buttress roots, colorful and strong smelling flowers, shallow roots, which is below the ground, broad leaves. Yeah, so these are the adaptations. Okay, so you see the adaptations are closely linked to the layers of the rainforest. That's why they adapt to whatever condition is in that layer, which is then linked to the weather conditions. Because of high temperature and high rainfall, the trees also adapt differently. So that is all for adaptations, and I will end it here.